Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 AM and 98.1 FM. This is SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. I'm your host, Matt Watson. As we mentioned yesterday, while our students are at home due to the recent pandemic, KHTS, in collaboration with SCVI and iLead Schools, is bringing to you this special edition of Eye on the Valley called Homeschooling Answers. We're here to help guide you through this time. Your kids need support, and so do you. So we're here to help. We're here to help you keep the learning going there at home, here to help you maintain your sanity, and sustain a happy and healthy home. Each day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., we will be here providing updates and developments in the community and support for you on how to manage these changes during what could be stressful times. But our hope is to help you make them not so stressful. We will have a guest each day that provides insight and support through their lens of expertise and their area in the community. Then, at the end of the show, and some tips throughout the show, we'll be providing those tips on what parents can do to help manage these times. They're actually great tips for parenting and relationships anytime, but we think that they'll be especially helpful during these times when families will be spending much of their time home together, and you can get that cabin fever, you can get a little cooped up sometime. For example, yesterday as we ended the show, we went through setting up for this sudden new arrangement at home. I kind of rushed through it at the end of the show, and some of you might not have been here, so let me run through those tips again quickly as you get your homeschool desk set up, your space, your time all organized. You know, organization and structure is really important for all of us, but especially for our kids. You know, moms, dads, caretakers, if you're listening to us, it's going to be really important for us to maintain an even keel for our kids. You know, they're taking their cues from us, and so when we panic, they know, or they get the cue that there's something to be panicked about. And when we're calm and know what we're doing, when we're structured and organized, they know that everything's going to be okay. So that's really important. So we can start by getting set up and organized at home. First of all, you want to set up a workspace. Make sure that your kids have a space that works for them. All kids are different, so make sure it's a space that is most productive, it's flexible, that's comfortable for them. Again, do what works for them. There's no right or wrong way. Just make sure that they're comfortable, the area is well lit, their supplies are at hand. Second, make sure that you have a schedule set up. Again, consider who your child is. Some are early risers, and some, like my son, they sleep in a little bit later, so that's okay. Set up the schedule around their rhythms and their functions. Make sure that your expectations are clear, though, okay? And then make sure that your schedule includes balanced meals, academic time. Use the resources and programs that your school and school district are providing, and in the absence of those, you've got tons of resources out there. Go ahead and get on social media and start culling through things that you think might be interesting and informative for your kids, but set that clear academic time. Also, make sure you've got creative time. We want our kids to continue to grow in the areas of creativity and help their brain continue to develop. So give them time to draw, to build with Legos or Connects, to play music or craft or bake or create in other ways. I know my son loves fashion design. He loves putting costumes together and things like that. So a time to sew might be a terrific option for him and maybe your child as well. Make sure they have that creative time. Make sure that they have several times to get outdoors, such as morning walks. Right now it's beautiful outside in Santa Clarita, so it might be a good time to take the dog for a walk right after our show. They can get outside, do some bike riding around the cul-de-sac if you live on a cul-de-sac, or play in the yard. It's okay to get out to the park as well, just as long as we're avoiding crowds and maintaining our distance. Make sure that your kids get some time for fresh air. I know we've got some scattered showers in the forecast over the next few days, so if it does happen to be raining, perhaps you could pop open the garage and the kids can play in the garage, do some jump roping, things like that, but make sure they're getting some fresh air. Don't forget chore time. It is important for kids to have their responsibilities. They can clean up after lunch, do the dishes, clean their room, things like that. Make sure they're taking some time for some quiet reflection as well. Some quiet time doing puzzles, reading, journaling. If your family's into meditation or mindfulness, it's a good time to do that. But it's important for them to take some quiet time for reflection. You know, I mentioned it yesterday. In 20, 30 years, these journals that your kids keep during these interesting times are going to be really interesting for them to go back and reread. And of course, make sure that there's some free time for family and TV before bed. Okay, so keep your kids engaged. It is important that they have social contact. Now, we don't want our kids going to birthday parties and things like that, but they can video chat, they can get on Google Classroom forums. There's all different kinds of ways that kids can collaborate and socialize even though they're stuck at home. So make sure that they have interaction with their classmates, with their friends. So make sure that they're doing that. Most importantly, have patience with yourself, have patience with your children, have patience with those that you rely on, your spouse, your kids' teachers and school districts. Remember, this is a new experience for them too. As we're shifting to distance learning, this is a new experience for your kids' teachers, so make sure that you're patient with them. I assure you that there will be good days and there will be rough days. So as long as you know that it's okay to take a break and catch your breath from time to time, you know, that's okay. Now, I mentioned how important balanced meals are. It really is important that your kids are eating right, especially if they're stuck inside more often than they're used to. I want to remind everyone that our communities are pulling together and pulling out all the stops to make sure that our kids are receiving their meals and that meal distribution, if they get it from schools, that it's not disrupted during this time. If you remember, we mentioned yesterday that SCVI and iLead schools, that is iLead Lancaster, Empower Generations, iLead AV, and as I mentioned, SCVI, as well as iLead Agua Dulce, are going to be continuing the distribution of free breakfast and lunch every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., with the exception of iLead Agua Dulce. Their schedule is 10 to noon. So 9 a.m. and 11 through 11 a.m. They're going to have drive-through pickup. No social distancing concerns. They're not going to be eating together in dining rooms. You can pick up a breakfast and lunch for any child from birth to 18 years old. You don't need to be enrolled in our schools. Any child birth to 18 years old can come pick up a free breakfast and lunch every Monday through Friday so that those meals aren't interrupted. And I know that a lot of the local school districts are doing similar things at some of the area campuses. Now, it's not all of the area campuses, so if you're not close to SCVI or another iLead campus, get online to your local school district, see what campuses are open for lunch distribution near you, and again, they've got drive-through pickup. You can just stop by and grab lunch on the go for any and all of your kids. So make sure that your kids' meals aren't disrupted that way. Again, check your school district websites for details. But what about those in need who are older than 18 years old? What about the adults in our community? Some of oftentimes those folks that are most affected by times like this. Well, we've got somebody in studio today who is not only here to help out during these interesting times of coronavirus, but he is always on the job making sure that everyone in our community has enough to eat. I'd like to say good morning and welcome in Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery. Bradley, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Matt. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming in again. First off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Santa Clarita Grocery? What's your mission? What do you do? How do you operate on a normal basis?
So we're located central Santa Clarita Valley, off Center Point behind the big Walmart.
Okay.
And it's kind of in between the Hart District office and the Harley dealer.
Right there off of Soledad Canyon.
Yes.
Okay, terrific.
Well, I guess Golden Valley.
Golden Valley.
That's
yeah, all right.
right around that area.
All right.
And our mission is we're all volunteer organization, and we have about 75 regular volunteers.
Oh, wow.
We distribute groceries for people that are having challenges. They could be in between jobs. They could be when the government shut down, TSA employees came because they were living paycheck to paycheck. So they would get, our business model is actually they get a week's worth of groceries for about 4 to 5 people with any given visit. So anybody can come and sign up. They just have to bring an ID.
Okay.
And we serve groceries Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings, and Saturday mornings.
Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings, Saturday mornings. So 3 times
Yes,
a week they can come pick up.
3 times a week, and they can pick a day, and they can regularly come, and we tend to walk through their challenge, whatever that may be at the time.
Okay, so you're also interacting with them socially.
We are.
Helping them get reconnected. You know, that's
Yeah.
super important, and oftentimes we forget about that. You know, like with our kids, I was talking earlier, our kids at home doing their schoolwork there at home, that social interaction is still
Yes,
important.
it
Same
is
thing with our adults.
critical. It is so critical. So we get to see these folks once a week, and it is one of their social touch points, really.
Yeah.
A lot of these, the more senior people that come, they don't really get out much.
Right.
So there's one woman that came Monday night, and she actually lives in her car, and she's probably 75, lives in her car with her cat. And she comes weekly, and she gets a lot of loving on and a lot of groceries. So it's a really powerful thing when people come to volunteer for the same thing.
Yeah.
And
that is
it's a beautiful expression of people giving back to our community.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you and all of your staff of volunteers that do that. So where do your groceries come from? How do your shelves get stocked? You know, we're seeing on social media and on the news about all these empty shelves. I was chatting with a friend this morning who was waiting in line to get into the local grocery store to get his eggs. Where do your groceries come from? How do you guys maintain stock?
Well, we have 3 volunteer shifts. Our first shift is actually our volunteer drivers.
Okay.
And we pick up from both Walmarts throughout the week. We pick up from Sprouts, Ralph's, Vaughn's, and Albertsons, and we pick up 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, early in the morning. Generally, it's a man shift because we need a pickup and someone that can lift a box that's about 50 to 60 pounds,
Sure.
a whole lot of them.
Yep.
Then we have our mid shift, which is about 9 to 12, and we have a lot of moms who drop their kids off at school come and volunteer. They take the food out of the produce out of the boxes, clean it, get it set up and organized.
So I want to pause right there. You said
Okay.
you pick up at a lot of the local grocery stores.
That's correct.
Are these grocery stores donating food to your grocery
They
store?
are donating.
That's beautiful.
And
That is fantastic. I love that. So then you've got your drivers that do the heavy lifting and the pickup, and they come drop off, and then you've got your second shift you were saying
That's
about
correct.
these folks that come in and get the groceries presentable.
Yes,
Get the
that's
shelves
right.
stocked, and then where's it go from
And then we have a third shift, which is our distribution teams, and that's a
Okay.
different set of volunteers who interact with our guests. Now, with the coronavirus situation, we've completely thrown our regular distribution system on its head, and now we are actually having drive-through groceries. So you drive up, you sign in, you're given a cone to put on your car, somebody takes your shopping list right on the spot, and they wait about 20 minutes, and their groceries are brought out to them in paper bags.
And that's done to help avoid that
Social
close
distancing.
social contact. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, that's really important. Now, ordinarily, so folks come into your store and they just do their shopping.
It's like a
they
little
leave.
mini mart.
Okay, so it's not like I'm just getting prepackaged stuff, and if
No.
I need gluten-free, I'm not getting a bag full of bread.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and the way we set the operation up, originally we had a more of a charity name associated with it,
Okay.
and it was creating challenges because every human being has dignity
Sure.
and pride. And so I like to engage with our guests that come every week, 3 times a week, and I would ask a lot of questions, come to find out when somebody hadn't been there for months, go, what is it? You know, and we found out that it was the name because they were feeling as though, you know, I'm not homeless or I'm not really that needy, when they were really in need. And so we changed it to just be like a small town market, so it's Santa Clarita Grocery.
Perfect.
And that seemed to be a game changer for people.
Yeah.
And we put a little 50s or 40s Chevy truck on our logo to make it look like it's been in Santa Clarita since the 50s, right?
Yeah, I'm noticing that right now.
And-
It's a great-looking logo.
Yeah, so that was a game changer for us. And so we've been, like, just last year, we served over 13,000 families a week's worth of groceries from
Wow.
our operation.
That's amazing.
So it's having a big impact. We distribute a lot of food to the school systems on a regular basis, and the parents know to bring bags. Also the community center, we provide a couple truckloads weekly to them, and they're serving seniors and special needs people.
That's amazing. So you're even able to get out there to folks that aren't necessarily able to get to you.
That's correct.
That's beautiful,
correct.
Bradley. That's absolutely beautiful. So you mentioned how many folks you served last year. How long have y'all been in business?
A year and a half.
Oh, okay.
We started in November of 2018,
Okay.
and off we went.
Okay.
And we've just grown from there. So
Terrific. So now you mentioned with with our new social distancing norms.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, for those of you that aren't watching on Facebook Live and you're tuning into the radio listening, it's important to note that Bradley and I are sitting a good 6 feet apart,
Yep.
making sure that we maintain our distance across this rather small studio, and we're trying to stay about 6 feet away from Shane, our board op as well, staying healthy, but making sure that you guys have the information that you need. Now, you touched on it a little bit earlier, Bradley, that that coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting the way that you guys distribute your food. You've got, now your customers aren't coming into the store and grabbing
correct.
things off the shelf. You've got a drive-through system where you pull up, I drop off my list, I park for 20 minutes or so, and one of your volunteers is doing the shopping for me, which is a great service. What about if I don't have a car?
Yeah, we have several people that take public transportation.
Okay.
And we just have them wait outside of the warehouse, and we still give them a cone. And
Okay.
so that's how we ID it. So all of our volunteers actually wear gloves throughout this whole distribution time.
That's important.
And we're only allowing, last week the minimum was gatherings of 25, so we had 25 people in the warehouse. Tonight's distribution will be 10 people only, so we'll only have 10 shoppers in the warehouse, but there will be the other 15 outside of the warehouse taking orders, our runners running groceries to vehicles, our safety officers that we have at every distribution. They're plain clothed, so nobody feels threatened or there's anything of a scare like what's going on here, so they're plain clothed officers. And so there's a real sense of order and safety there.
Gosh, you guys have really put a lot of thought and consideration into how you're doing everything, making sure that you're maintaining people's dignity, making sure that you're maintaining people's safety. That really is fantastic.
Well, thank you, Matt.
And I'm sure that going, especially with the new drive-through system, I'm sure the rains have kind of thrown a little hitch in that giddy up as well.
Oh, you wouldn't have imagined Monday night. It was just like we were in a monsoon. Here we are under pop-up tents. All the papers were wet. Everybody was soggy. However, you know what? It came off like clockwork. That was our second time with our new system. And so we really were able to work out the bugs. We had some amazing volunteers that just stuck with it.
That's terrific. You know, one of the best ways to keep ourselves uplifted during what can be kind of dark and depressing times is to help lift up others. It really does give us that sense of accomplishment and so important. You know, I saw the post the other night of you guys delivering in the rain, and it really just did warm my heart. We're talking this morning with Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery. We do have to take a short break, but before we do, I want to remind you that even if you're traveling away from Santa Clarita during this time, you can still take your hometown station with you. Download our KHTS app on your iPhone and Android device. You can now listen to KHTS wherever you are in the world. You can also access KHTS news, social media, and more, so download that app. Now do stay tuned. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery and find out what you can do to help. And at the end of the hour, we're going to be teaching you how to nip arguments in the bud with your kids, with your significant other, and even better, prevent them from even happening. You're listening to SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. I'm your host, Matt Watson, and this is your hometown station, KHTS.
You could be launching your rewarding career with one of Santa Clarita's leading defense contractors, FMI Aerostructures. Imagine creating critical airplane fighter components for our nation's defense. Be on the cutting edge of advanced technologies and get the skills needed to make our defense your career. We offer career paths for beginners and professionals. FMI Aerostructures, one of Santa Clarita's largest employers since 1978.
Find out about our 4-credit mentorship programs through College of the Canyons and the William S. Hart High School District. Visit fmiscv.com.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, you need an expert. Hi, I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I've helped hundreds of Santa Clarita residents save their homes completely for free. I've got just over 20 years experience and a loan modification success rate of over 80%. I can negotiate better terms with your bank and I can save your home from foreclosure. And again, we do this completely for free. So if you're in any danger, please call me today at 661-714-1400. That number again is 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I'll be happy to help you save your home for free.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
Moms, dads, this is Cardin Ellis, owner of Unipest. If your house has ants, spiders, or gophers, or you want a free orange oil termite inspection, you have to call Unipest Termite and Pest Control, Santa Clarita's only factory-certified orange oil pest control company. We specialize in organic, low-impact, and traditional pest control options that are all kid-friendly, pet-friendly, and affordable with no contracts, and we're SCV-owned and operated. Call us at 661-BUG-7575 or visit unipest.com.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and 98.1 FM. I'm Matt Watson, and this is SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley, Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. We're talking this morning with Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery. Before the break, we were talking about the difficulty that the grocery's been having and the changes that they've been having to make during this time of social distancing. But we've also been talking about how heartwarming it is to be able to step in and help others, especially some of those that are most in need. You know, Bradley, during the commercial break, you and I were chatting about some of these just absolutely heartwarming stories of people stepping up and not just doing the right thing, but doing some pretty amazing things to help others out. Can you share with our listeners some of those stories you were sharing with me?
Oh, sure. Well, out of the blue on Monday, I received a call from Bennett's Honey Farm. They're that honey store halfway through the 126 up in Fillmore.
Absolutely. I'm sure our listeners have driven past and seen the sign. And go in there, do some honey tasting. It's great.
Chip said, "Who am I talking with?" And I said, "Bradley from Santa Clarita Grocery." So all of a sudden he engaged me and said, "Listen, I want to contribute 1,500 pounds of honey." That took a special trailer to even get it from. You wouldn't 1,500 pounds in the back of a regular.
You almost a ton of honey.
Yeah, exactly. And I was shocked. I'd never met Chip. I didn't know that he even was doing this. But he made a special package for this time, and it's called Heaven's Honey, something like that, just to encourage people.
And it's a special package just for this time of pandemic and things that we're going through right now.
Yeah, he felt inspired to do it, and he didn't know why, and then all of a sudden this hit. So he ends up sending us 1,500 pounds of honey. Now, it came through the avenue of a fellow named Manny Sanchez. He's a rancher, owns a lot of property in town. And Manny usually takes our exhausted produce and picks it up from us because we recycle even our exhausted vegetables. It goes to Hart Park for the animals there. Manny the rancher, and Billy the chicken lady. Those three, is 5 days a week, they pick up our exhausted produce. So Manny shows up and says, "I have a trailer," goes and gets it, drives to Fillmore, brings us 1,500 pounds of honey. And then one of our neighbors in the warehouse offered to forklift it up into our warehouse. I mean, everybody came together, and all he wanted was a receipt that he made a contribution to us. It was a beautiful story.
That is fantastic, and I know our community loves giving back in a lot of ways, including patronizing those businesses that are doing good things during these times. Tell me again, what's the name of the business up on 126?
It's called Bennett's Honey Farm.
Bennett's Honey Farm. The next time you're heading out to Oxnard, going to the beach, why don't you add an extra 30, 45 minutes to your drive and stop by Bennett's, do a little honey tasting and take some honey home with you. They're doing great things to help our community out, and so is Bradley Gross here from Santa Clarita Grocery. You were talking about, you know, I've got friends that have been driving all over town looking for a dozen eggs. People are having a hard time finding eggs. But you guys had an amazing, it seems like a coincidence. Other people might call it divine intervention. I don't know. A way to get some eggs on your shelves. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of our shift leads for our mid shift is Susie, and she preps all of our food for distribution. And she saw on Facebook Marketplace that there was a a ranch up in Fillmore, again, a chicken ranch, that they had eggs for sale, and we're always looking trying to get way out in front of this.
Sure.
So she called the guy. I believe his name is Andrew, and I could get you his information later. But she said, I'm interested in your eggs. How much are they? And he said, they're $6 a dozen. And she goes, well, I don't want to buy your eggs. I want your eggs for free.
Hey,
because that's Susie.
The art of the ask, right?
No, that's Susie. She does it in such a way, but swing, there went her magic wand. No, I want them for free. I work for a charity called Santa Clarita Grocery, and we need eggs. And then she said he paused for 10 seconds, and she thought that the phone was hung up.
Click.
Too big of an ask, right? And then the guy comes back and says, you're not going to believe this. There's a woman in Hawaii who used to live in Fillmore, so follow this story. I know it's a little disjointed, but she called him. She saw the eggs on Facebook Marketplace, and she said, how much are your eggs? And he said, $6 a dozen. She goes, I don't want to buy your eggs. She said, I want to make a contribution, and I want to send you the money over the internet, and I want you to give away the eggs to people that need them. And he shared that story back with Susie, and he even went the extra mile, drove the eggs to Copper Hill Road right here in Santa Clarita, and they met, and she brought him to the warehouse. It's just amazing.
That is
right?
absolutely beautiful. Imagine yourself, you're this rancher, you sell eggs, and you get a phone call from someone saying, hey, I don't want your eggs, I just want to pay for them so that you can give them to somebody in need. And an hour later, you get a phone call from somebody that says, hey, I don't want to buy your eggs, I just want you to give them to me for free because I'm handing them out to the community here. That is great.
Yeah.
That is great. So, how are you guys doing? Have you got enough volunteers? How can our listeners maybe get involved with what you guys are doing? If they're all of a sudden feeling inspired by a lot of these cool stories, how can they get involved and help you guys out?
Volunteer-wise for the operation, we have that covered, and as you know, it's a delicate thing.
Sure.
So to have a huge crowd of volunteers show up is more of a challenge.
And I know it's important for you to have a more permanent staff.
Correct.
Right? People that are trained and have routines and schedules. Okay.
But if they, if anybody was interested in helping out in this measure, I think really the best thing they could do is do food drives. We have a flyer of really the things we need, because the demand is going to be incredible in the next 2 weeks, as you can imagine. The supply is the challenge. Last night I went to a grocery store. There was nothing on the aisles. And again, we're 10 days into this. Sure. And still, their supply is even a challenge.
Yep.
So if people were willing to do canned food drives,
all right,
that type of thing, and drop off, we have somebody staffing the place from 9 to noon every morning, just for drop-offs.
Fantastic. So we were talking about homeschooling tips for families, ways to get their kids involved, ways to avoid, killing each other while we're all stuck at home together. So if I put together maybe a grassroots canned food drive, post on my social media, hey, swing by, drop it in this box in front of the house kind of thing, they can drop off from 9 to noon, Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Okay, and again, you're located at the center of town.
Yes.
Kind of behind the Walmart there on Carl Boyer. Yeah. Your address is 21176 Centerpoint Parkway. So if you just Google Santa Clarita Grocery, Centerpoint Parkway, you're going to find it. But again, it's 21176 Centerpoint Parkway. And if you want to take a look online, their web address is www.santaclaritagrocery.org. Nice and easy to remember. And then I also want to reach out and appeal to some of our business owners in the community. You guys know who you are. If you've got, it sounds like Bradley's already got a great connection with honey and eggs, but if you've got other produce or access to other items that folks are really going to need during this time, who knows? Maybe you find yourself with 17,700 bottles of hand sanitizer in your closet like that guy in Tennessee, and you want to swing by and make a donation there to the grocery. You know what you've got. You know how you can contribute. Come on, Santa Clarita, step it up. You can help out. Drop off with Bradley at 9 to noon, Monday through Friday, there at Santa Clarita Grocery. So on a personal note, How about you? Do you have any tips for our listeners in dealing with these difficult times? You seem to be a very even keel, sensible guy, Bradley. So what's something positive or helpful that you and your family are doing to help you cope during this time where we're not allowed to go to the opera or to the ball game or things like that? Have you got any advice for our listeners?
Well, I used to have 5 kids at home.
Okay.
And now one of my daughters, she was sent home from UCLA.
Okay.
So she's home. She did a self-quarantine.
May
so
I just
she's,
say, go Bruins.
She's all right. And so she's spending time at home. My son is home.
Yeah.
My other daughter was let go from UC San Diego. And
That's
so
it's tough. Lots
she
of
still
people
has to work.
Mhm.
So she's staying down there. But
All right.
and then my oldest daughter, she's going to be coming home and staying with us. She lives down in Long Beach where her work is. So we're going to just begin gathering again shortly here. But so far, we haven't watched much TV. It's been a real fun time to just spend time talking with each other and not looking at your phone while you're watching TV. It's just we've been having a real fun time, and I would encourage that. Turn your phone off during this time. And discipline yourself and spend some time looking at each other's eyes and engaging and talking about whatever. It's a beautiful unearthing of, wow, let's have a conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you could Google a phrase like conversation starters and stuff like that. I'm sure you guys can learn lots of things about your kids that you didn't know when you just turn off, unplug, and say, hey, what's on your mind? What is it that worries you most right now? What is it that brings you the most joy?
Yeah.
And you get your families talking. That's really important to reconnect that way. And you know, I bet if you wander down the hallway and you look in that hallway closet, you might find a board game or two. Or
puzzle. That's what my kids are asking. What puzzles do we have at home?
Oh, that's
and
so
they
cool.
want to engage in that because over the winter we went up to a cabin, and the cabin had puzzles there.
Okay.
And who knew? But we all really enjoyed doing this really complex 1,000-piece puzzle together. So now the kids are like, what puzzles do we have that we can do to just spend time together that way?
Yeah, so important. And you know, it's interesting. When I was working on my master's, I learned something called phenomenology, and it's kind of the basics of the way humans interact. And we kind of have this fear of silence, right? When there's more than one person in the room, we try to fill the silence. And so, parents, huge tip here. It's kind of a Jedi mind trick. Stay quiet and listen. And I bet your kids will start to talk. It's so cool. So yeah, if you get together and you just start putting together a puzzle, start listening, and your kids are going to start opening up in ways that you never imagined. Now, brace yourselves. You don't want to put on that shocked face as soon as they do start talking, because then they'll clam up right away. So regardless of what your kids have to say, you want to have that interested, engaged, happy face, because you want your kids sharing with you. It is super important. But yeah, if you just listen, the kids will open up and they'll start to share. It'll bring you guys closer together than you ever thought before. Now, I know unplugging is important, but if you want to plug in a little bit, something that my son and I have been doing is we've got this movie poster at home where it lists the 100 greatest movies of all time, and it's kind of like a scratcher, and you scratch off with a coin when you've watched the movie. So what we're doing is each day we're looking for a new movie that we haven't seen, and we're scratching a new movie every day. It's important also to stay positive and be patient, okay? Now, when we come back, we do have to take a quick commercial break. I want to thank Bradley Gross for joining us here in studio, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about that suggestion that I've mentioned, how to avoid conflict and arguments in the home, how to neutralize those arguments. Again, I want to thank Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery for joining us today. Thank you so much for the service that you're doing for our community.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Matt.
You're listening to SCVI Charter School's Eye on the Valley, Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. I'm your host, Matt Watson, on your hometown station, KHTS.
This is Jerry Sweaty Goldman, co-owner of KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220, hometownstation.com. As most of you know, my family and I were directly affected by the coronavirus, COVID-19. Carl and I have made the very difficult decision to postpone our 11th annual KHTS Home and Garden Show in April. In addition to following the CDC recommendation of social distancing, we want you, our loyal listeners, to know that we truly care about the health of our community. Please self-isolate. Stay home if you're over the age of 65, and continue to follow all the recommended CDC guidelines. As a community, we have experienced earthquake, fires, floods, and other natural disasters, and tragic events too. We always come together, and in the end, we are always stronger. The Santa Clarita community will get through this unprecedented time. We are in this together. Thank you.
Daily Imprints is the premier one-stop shop for custom embroidery, screen printing, and promotional products in the Santa Clarita Valley. Owners Joe and Dana have provided KHTS with quality embroidered company shirts for over 3 years. If it's new business cards or promotional products you need to enhance your image, Daily Imprints is the choice for you. Located on Lyons Avenue, stop by or call today, 661-678-0508.
Introducing Oakmont of Valencia, Oakmont's second luxury senior living community in Santa Clarita. At Oakmont of Valencia, you'll have access to full-time assisted living services provided by compassionate staff in the privacy of your own home. Oakmont's Diabetic Wellness Program offers assistance with monitoring and managing glucose levels, meals, exercise, and activities. Oakmont of Valencia offers a fully equipped wellness center and concierge medical program, allowing outside physicians to visit on site. Discover the care your loved ones deserve in a resort-style setting. Visit oakmontofvalencia.com.
Dutton Plumbing, this is Eric.
Son, it's Mother. I was calling to let you know I just bought 10 cases of water for me and Eunice. We tried shoving it into the pantry, but it won't fit. Can you tell me where to shove it?
Never mind the water bottles, Mom. I just installed that new Dutton Plumbing water filtration system for you, remember? Our water filtration systems actually produce bottled quality water out of every faucet in the house, even your shower. So you'll never run out of pure, clean water again.
That's great, son. When are you installing it?
Mom, it's already installed.
I better call Eunice. She could really use a water filtration system. She drinks a lot of water, and she also pees a lot.
Mom!
Dutton Plumbing's water filtration systems remove all harmful chemicals in your water and protects your health. Never run out of pure, clean water again. Right now, save on Dutton's water filtration system. Learn more at DuttonPlumbing.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, FM at 98.1 and 1220 on the AM dial. This is Matt Watson with Eye on the Valley Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. Today we're talking homeschooling because now we're all homeschool families. I want to thank Bradley Gross again for joining us in studio over the break. He did share with me some of that information that we talked about earlier, some of the schools that are distributing lunches, some of the schools that he works with. Santa Clarita Elementary School, Canyon Springs School, Newhall Elementary, Peachland Elementary, Live Oak Elementary, North Lake Hills, Wiley Canyon School, and Cedar Creek School. Rio Vista School and McGrath School as well. So if your kids are in need of a lunch, you can stop by there and pick that up. So very, very important. I talked before the break about avoiding and neutralizing arguments. You know, at SCVI and iLead schools, we use a philosophy called love and logic, which I've got to be honest, absolutely changed my life as an educator and as a parent. Quite literally does save lives. And one of the tenets that they talk about is neutralizing arguments. It's so easy to get wrapped up into arguments, especially when, you know, we're all cooped up together. We find ourselves kind of a little bit irritable. Maybe, you know, we have to, I don't know, go to virtual school, do schooling from home, and it's maybe getting a little boring, or I don't want to, I'm not feeling it right now. And that leads to arguments, and that can melt down and destroy your home so quickly. So I've got a few tips for you to avoid that. First tip, parents, just go brain dead. It is so easy for us to get emotionally wrapped up. When our kids argue with us, it pushes our buttons, and we tend to argue back, and we try to win that argument. Come on, let's face it, we're older than them, we have more experience than them, and we think we can win this, but I got a huge news flash for you. As soon as you engage in an argument, no one wins, okay? So even if you win the argument, we still lose. so important for us to go brain dead, just check out emotionally, okay? Scientists will tell you that it's going from our amygdala brain, that ancient brain that's the fight or flight, and we want to get into our prefrontal cortex. We want to start thinking, okay? So, think, go brain dead, don't get wrapped up. Your kids are going to try to pull you in. Maybe your significant other's going to try to fight with you. Because remember, if you follow the strategy that my son employs, as long as we continue to argue, I still have a chance of winning. But remember, if you're arguing, you're losing. Both of you are losing. So go brain dead. Try to recognize the beginnings of an argument and just respond with empathy. Let your kids know that you love them. Don't respond in emotion. Love and logic parents and educators tend to become less talkative, but use a limited response over and over and over again like a broken record. That is step 2. We call it a one-liner. Stay calm and repeat with love and empathy a one-liner. Why a one-liner? Because what we like to do is we like to give ourselves some tools, something that we can rest on. Because again, it's super easy for me to say here on the radio, oh, hey, just don't get wrapped up emotionally. But you know what? Your kids, your family members, they know how to press your buttons better than anybody. They know how to pull you in, and it is so hard. So if you've got something that you can rest on, then it makes it a little bit easier for you to not get wrapped up. So again, kind of like a broken record, use those one-liners. Some examples are things like, I know, or probably so, or gosh, that must be really difficult. You know, if your kids are saying, I hate this online learning, I don't understand what my teacher wants me to do, I don't want to do it. Again, with empathy, not with sarcasm. We're going to talk about that in a second. Super important to be sincere, not sarcastic. With empathy, say, oh gosh, that must be tough, right? That's one of my go-tos. That must be tough. So when my kids argue with me and present to me this insurmountable problem that they just can't get around, I lead with, that must be tough. And, you know, it lets them know that I understand and that I care. That, yeah, it's tough, it really stinks, and this and this. Yeah, that must be really tough. And then I continue moving forward with what I'm doing. You know, if I'm folding laundry, I just keep folding laundry. Yeah, that must be tough. Yeah, and she doesn't understand, and she asked me to do this. And that must be tough, okay? Another important one-liner is, what did I say? Because remember, a lot of times arguments come up when we ask our kids to do something. You know, I need you to clean the bathroom right now. Oh, Mom, cleaning the bathroom is disgusting. 2 one-liners in combination. Watch this. I'm an expert at it. Mom, cleaning the bathroom is disgusting. I hate it. I know, but what did I say? You know, you can have dessert after you finish cleaning the bathroom. Oh, Mom, that's so disgusting. I'm not going to want to eat a brownie after I clean the toilet. I know, but what did I say? Right? And so you just rely on those one-liners. Don't get wrapped up. Don't try to win the argument. It is so tempting sometimes, but don't try to win that argument, okay? Rely on those one-liners. One of my favorite ones, because I gotta be honest, my kids are better at arguing than I am, and they will beat me. And so one of my go-tos is just, you know what, sweetie, I love you too much to argue with you. And then I move out of the room. I try to play like a basketball player, right? I stay out of the paint, you know? I love you too much to argue with you, and I move on. You know, I might go and brush my teeth. You know, brushing your teeth is a great way to avoid arguing, because it's tough to argue with a toothbrush in your mouth. Sweetie, I love you too much to argue with you, and then start brushing your teeth. Or, I love you too much to argue with you, and head into the kitchen and start cooking dinner. I love you too much to argue with you, and go take out the trash. I love you too much to argue with you, and continue with your work from home, because I know a lot of you guys are doing your own distance work as well. So super important, rely on those one-liners. A couple of things not to do. Remind yourself, do not argue. It sounds easy, but it's going to be tough, you know? Your kids are going to come to you with something, they're going to want to push you, and you're going to think, I know what Matt said, don't argue, but I got this one, I'm so totally going to win. Remember, even when you win, you argued with your kid, and you lost, okay? You want to present that calm, rational, in-control model for them. Why? Well, because you don't want to lose your cool, and you also want them to learn to be calm and rational. You want them to learn that arguing gets you nowhere. Because guess what? When you start employing these tactics and you fizzle these arguments right away, the kids are going to learn that they don't work. The kids are going to learn that the only thing that arguing gets them is a sore throat, right? And they're going to stop doing it. How awesome would it be if our kids just naturally started arguing less and less around the house? Another thing you've got to refuse to do. Do not yell. I'm going to admit to it. This was one of the hardest ones for me. I was raised to be a yeller. I was taught, and so it was really difficult. I was raised in a home where Dad's way, or it was Dad's way or the highway. You do as you say, do as you're told, without argument, without protest. And so when kids protest, then you start with the yelling, right? Your kids heard you the first time. You don't have to yell. It's going to give you a sore throat. It's going to scare your kids. It's going to provide just an unsettling home environment. And think about it. If you're not able to leave your house for 4 to 6 weeks and people are already yelling, think about what the tone is, what the culture is, what the mood is going to be around your house 24/7, even when you're not yelling. Okay? Another thing we've got to refuse to do is humiliate. A huge component to love and logic, a huge component to raising a happy, healthy, intelligent, productive child is building their self-esteem and their responsibility. No, this is not just a touchy-feely self-esteem moment, but we're not there to tear down our kids. We're there to build them up. We're there to remind them that they are intelligent and that they can solve any problem that they create. Oh, we'll talk about that in the days to come, because when your kids create problems, it's their problem, not my monkey, right? But don't humiliate your kids. Never humiliate your kids. Remind them that they are brilliant, that they are beautiful, that they are amazing, okay? Just make your expectations clear. Rely on those one-liners. I'm sure it feels that way. Dad, you're being so unfair. I'm sure it feels that way. But what did I say? Again, not with sarcasm. Sarcasm, you know, my mother once told me that sarcasm is anger's ugly cousin, okay? We don't want to get angry. We want to keep our emotions out of that. So don't use sarcasm, but you can just tell them, it probably feels that way. But what did I say? Okay? Don't roll your eyes. Oh, I'm sure it feels that way to you, right? No, that's sarcastic. Do not humiliate. Do not use sarcasm. Also, don't use universal statements. You never, you always, because that gives the perfect hook for your kid to continue that argument. Okay, even if they do it 99% of the time. You never clean up your room. Remember Easter of 1947? You know, or whatever. They're going to throw something out there to just contradict the one time that that universal statement was wrong. So don't use them, okay? And don't overthink. Just refuse to argue. Don't get wrapped up in it, okay? I'm not going to argue. I love you too much to argue. A couple of more one-liners. Oh, what a bummer. Now, this one's tough for me because the word bummer naturally rolls off my tongue with sarcasm. But what about, thanks for letting me know, I'll keep it in mind. Or again, I bet it feels that way. Okay? Reminder, this technique will backfire if it's done with sarcasm, frustration, or anger. Do not use sarcasm. Okay? Always remember to continue with what you're doing. A child won't argue when they don't have an audience. So give your answer and move on. Use your one-liner and move on. Okay? So try to employ some of those tactics, and we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow and in the days to come as we move on. I do want to remind you that meals are being provided for those that need it at our area schools, at all SCBI and I-Lead schools, at Santa Clarita Grocery. They're providing groceries for those adults in need. For guidance on what to do with your kids as far as academics go, check your school district's websites. Check your school's website for resources there. I also want to remind you that tomorrow we're going to continue at 9 a.m. I've got a terrific guest that's going to be joining us over the phone. Emily Evenson is going to be sharing resources on digital citizenship, how to keep your kids safe and productive while they're online, maybe a little bit more than they usually are. I will also have more tips on how to maintain your sanity and keep everybody safe, happy, and healthy at home. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up for today, but thank you for stopping by. I also want to thank one more time Bradley Gross for joining us in studio from Santa Clarita Grocery and all the amazing work that he's doing for our community. And thank you for joining us this morning. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. You're listening to SCBI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley Special Edition Homeschooling Answers. I'm your host, Matt Watson, here on your hometown station, KHTS.